So on my kayak, I have 2 lights on the front. There are 2 cube lights from Amazon, and then I have 2 strips of green lights on either side. So in the state of Missouri, you have to have green and red on either side of your boat, but with kayaks, there's really no laws on what needs to go on the kayak as far as lights. So I just preferred the green, so I did 2 strips of green on either side, and I'll show you that real quick. So there's 2 strips here. You can see where I've drilled into the kayak and brought the wires in through there, and then basically this is just a sticky, and it just sticks on the side of your boat. And I did the same thing over here. These have been on here about 3 years now. They're starting to show a little bit of wear, but for the price I paid, I've been more than happy with them. So with the amount of wear that's on these lights, I'm completely fine with. At some point, yeah, I'll probably have to replace them. I'll probably break one of them or rip one of these strips off, but oh well, they're cheap enough. The way I set up the switch, so right now I have the duck blind on there. So where I put these switches is right up here. I try to get close as possible to myself when I'm laying in this boat. So there's my green strip lights, and there's my 2 floodlight, cube lights, whatever you want to call them. So that's what those look like. They are extremely bright, really light up the water, light up the surroundings. The green definitely you can see from a long ways away. I mean, same with the cube lights, but if I don't want to just blind everything in front of me, if I got somebody else paddling in front of me, I can turn off those 2 cube lights and then just run those green. So I'll do that real quick. So this is a little bit more subtle. Not blinding any of my buddies. Sometimes, you know, you don't want to paddle with all that light. Sometimes with just the moon and stars, it's good enough. So, and then as far as the wiring inside, it looks like a cluster right now. Mostly because you got 4 strips and you got 2 floodlights. So, I mean, you have a lot of wires, but essentially everything's going from the lights, then to my switches back there, and then to my battery. And the battery itself is Velcroed in there. So it can slide around, but I haven't had really any issues with it. No issues with the battery sliding around. Velcro seems to hold it pretty well to the bottom of my boat. If I'm transporting it, sometimes I'll take the battery out and put it in my truck, and then when I get there, I'll throw the battery in there and hook it up. But other than that, that's pretty much my setup. All right, so to put these switches in here, I have, you know, my floodlights, my strip lights. So each little switch is protected by a little rubber seal. You just buy those separately with these switches. Just a little protecting, keep the water and moisture out. All right, so what you have is your switch, and you have 3 terminals. So here is your ground, which is your black, and then you have 2 powers essentially. So what you're doing is routing your positive side of your battery through this switch, and basically you're interrupting the circuit. So running 1 light, 1 switch, here's what the wiring would look like. So basically on your light, you'll have a negative and a positive side. Now sometimes these lights will just come with 2 black wires. It doesn't really say which is positive or negative. I believe it does not matter which one you choose. So pick a positive side of your light, come to the first terminal of the switch, and then come out of your switch and route to your positive side of your battery. And then on the negative side of the light, come over and tie in with the 3rd leg of your switch, and then drop down into the negative side of the battery. Pretty simple. Okay, in my case, I am running 2 switches, 2 lights to a battery. So basically the same thing. You have your positive side of your lights going to 1 leg of your switch, and then coming out of your switch on that 2nd leg of your switches, and then those will tie together and go to the positive side of your battery. Now the negative side of your lights, you'll tie those together with the 3rd leg of your switch. Tie all those together and drop those to the negative side of your battery. Looks complicated, but fairly simple. So the way I put these 2 holes in my kayak was using a 3/4 inch drill bit These drill bits make a circular hole. And essentially I just drilled 2, and the 3/4 inch hole made it to where I could pop these into place. It has little tabs on the side, essentially that lock into that hole that you've drilled. Okay, let's see how bright these lights are in the dark. As you can see, these lights by themselves are bright enough to paddle around in. I mean, it really illuminates the water, really illuminates just enough to where you can see where you're going. And then obviously if you have no clue where you're going or what you're doing, or if there's a bunch of trees, other debris in the way, boom. Extremely bright. Hope my neighbors like that. So that was my light setup on my Nucanoe Frontier 12. It was fairly easy and inexpensive way to put some lights on my kayak. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them down in the comment section and I'll get to them.